They talk about that. But here's the deal. There's a lot of young women who be raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters. It's just ridiculous.
Women are getting raped by their in-laws and their spouses and their brothers and sisters. It's like, what? Women are getting raped by their sisters all across this country?
It makes it sound like there's a lot of going on. Like,
when reached for comment, Ashley Biden said, "No comment." So that was my favorite, because I don't know about you, I was just sitting there like, all right, what in the hell? Like, how did we get to this? Welcome to Loaded Talk. I am your congressman, the third most popular candidate to ever be. I am Frank, and along with me, as always...
What's up, planet Earth? I'm Bean.
Bean. We are in a situation Charlie right now. I'll jump to that later, but did you hear about our military bases? They all, the European military bases are now at like Situation Charlie or Category Charlie, which basically is like the second to highest watch out for imminent threat. So like, I think, what's the top one? I don't think the top's Alpha. It could be, but I think it's something weird. But maybe it's just Beta. I don't know. Anyway, we got some military bases on high alert for an imminent attack, and our servicemen are being told not to wear their uniforms off base. So things are going well.
Great.
All right. So obviously we have to talk about the debate. That was, did you watch it?
I tried to like stay away from it as much as I could, but then I was like, all right, let me get some of this.
Sexy.
And I came in at the right time.
Oh man, I was looking forward to it. You know, I busted out my nihilist wine. It was a gift from a homie. It felt like the right night for nihilism, you know? So I sat down to watch these two old farts, which I was very disappointed in Donald Trump's hair. Were you disappointed in his hair? It didn't. When we watch a clip later, it doesn't have as much of the swirly, twirly, mass. It's more like, I don't know, it was flat and sad, like a deflated pie, like a meringue pie that just went. Anyway, that was my main takeaway. But yeah, so the debate was on Thursday. It's the first, as we talked about, it's the earliest first debate for a presidential race. Technically, neither one of these people is actually the nominee yet, just according to the rules. What was your takeaway?
I don't know what I could have taken away from that. Other than there's a handicap battle going on in golf.
Oh God. Yeah, that was the most animated thing. Because, Trump stayed pretty calm. I think first to start off, I thought the moderators did good. Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. I thought they did great. They asked good questions to both of them. If they didn't use up all their time and hadn't really answered the question, they go, hey, you got a minute and a half left or whatever. And this is the topic. Let them go back to it. They didn't interject themselves into it and be arguing with Trump, which is, I don't know if that has anything to do with the Trump team putting them on blast ahead of time or if it's just them actually being competent. Jake Tapper's not bad. He's, he can be a, crybaby sometime or be a little, show his tilt to the left not from time to time, but fairly often. But he can be a good news guy, So he might have just been acting as a professional. Two of them.
They both seemed very concerned. As the questions went on and they weren't getting the answers they wanted, they were both growing very concerned. I could hear it in their voices.
Oh yeah. They were probably concerned that Joe Biden was about to die. Literally die, not that he was doing the worst job of any debate ever televised. I can't think. I guess you could argue last year when Trump did that first debate and he was interrupting him constantly and acting like a butthole the whole time. I mean, that really did hurt Trump with kind of independent voters, made him look like this bully jerk. And if you're, a casual person that just tunes in, for the debate, and you don't really think about it for 4 years, I think that did hurt him. But I mean, so in that way, that was kind of a disaster of a debate. Obama had one that was kind of a bad debate against Mitt Romney. I think the first one or the second one or something. And then the genius that is the Romney, well, everything Romney. They didn't want to come off. They didn't want to come off as mean or being nasty or anything. So they made sure that the debates that followed that, they just didn't get too finger pointy, which, when you're trying to take someone out of being president, you're supposed to kind of say, hey, they did this bad. But he's like, that just seems divisive. We'll just not fight anymore. But that worked out for him. He became president. But anyway, Joe Biden looked so old. That was my big takeaway. Was Biden looked so old and demented, and he's been looking old for a while, but he gets juiced up for State of the Union. I thought we'd start off with State of the Union Biden, and then maybe after around that first break or something, he'd be kind of winding down, and then maybe kind of get worse from there. But no, it started bad. I didn't pull up the first question, only my favorite. But the very first, so, they made this big deal about how Biden was at Camp David and he was preparing for this debate. He's getting prepared like a full week or whatever at Camp David, just, focused on this debate. And the very first question about whatever the hell it was, he rattled off every single talking point I think anybody ever told him about anything. He just kept going dude, this. You're just like, what the hell is happening? I think he's like, I remember listening to. And that was, I remember that after that first question, I was just like, what? So let's just jump in. So to set this one up, this was on abortion. So as we know that Trump nominated 3 Supreme Court justices, and when Roe versus Wade was brought before them, they overturned Roe versus Wade, giving the authority for making laws regarding abortion back to each state to set their own laws. So this was a question about Roe being overturned, and I think even about abortion access to, maybe. I can't remember the exact, but it was something. It was purely abortion related, okay? So, and Trump says, power went back to the states. I think one thing that's important, because it might explain what happens to Biden during this answer, is he says, I support the exemptions. They have the exemptions, which is like rape, incest, that type of thing. But Trump made a big deal. Oh, but I support the exemptions. The Supreme Court supports it and all that kind of stuff. And so, since Roe versus Wade got overturned, abortion has been a winning subject for Democrats. A lot of Republicans tried to swing for the fences right away in just political suicide. I don't know, where they're just like, all right, let's ban it outright. Here's our opportunity. And then, whether it's Kansas with the constitutional amendment that got shot down, there's been, a few people that just really went for it. And so when you poll the nation and just take morality out of the equation here, just by polling, most of America is not gaga about abortion, but they think if it's somewhere younger than 15 weeks, they're all in that kind of 12 to 15 week, nothing older than that. But we can live with it from 0 to 12 to 15 weeks. Some people, obviously there's wiggle room in that, but that's where a majority of Americans sit at, something like that, or 8 to 15, either way, limitations, but not 1 day, and so there's heartbeat bills and all that. So Democrats have been able to hang their gonna take away abortions. They're gonna take away your reproductive rights, which never made sense to me because you're not reproducing by definition when you're aborting a baby. But it's been a winning topic for the Democrats, and so this really, and this was early. This was very early. So this should have been a nice setup because I think there was a couple questions on abortion, and this should have been where Joe Biden could really shine early on in the debate, where casual people haven't changed the channel yet, and this is what we got. Are we ready over there?
We are ready.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they were all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor and have him decide on what your circumstances are.
Okay, so already, not necessarily the strongest. He's not making all the sense with every word he says, It's like the idea that the founders would want states to decide. That's crazy. It's literally not crazy because of like the 10th Amendment. I think that's a weird game to play. I think it's a weird angle to take that states shouldn't be making the laws. You could say you disagree, like he says they're. I don't even know where they were. They said there was a 6 week. Are they in? They're not in Florida, were they? I have no idea where they were. Texas. I don't know. Anyway, 6 weeks. You don't know if you're pregnant. I'm like, you could. You could at 6 weeks, but whatever on this. But he's kind of getting in there. What you did was terrible. Trump didn't actually overturn it.
Right.
Wait. Go ahead.
Your pause point is just, I'm like almost losing it just because the dumbfoundedness.
Okay, that was the face he made all night. Oh,
sorry.
No, it's all right. But now whatever the 6 weeks. But so he's stammering through, but he's making some points, right? And so once again, the topic is just on whether, I guess his point would be he wants to see a federal law on abortion, which I think technically would be something that could be done. You just have to, I think you just have to make a law. It couldn't just be by judicial decision is the thing. It goes to the states unless there is a federal law, and then it can be challenged. But I think if they made a federal law banning it or allowing it or whatever, as long as it was voted on by the legislature, I think that would count.
Well, the states can modify it as long as it betters the person, I believe. It can't make it worse off than what the federal law says. The state law would have to better.
Right. So, well, yeah,
be better.
I guess it depends on how it was written. Yeah. So if the federal law said it couldn't be, abortions are legal up until the 20th week, states could say, I don't know, could states say it could only be 15, or would they not be able to?
I guess it would be the definition of what's better.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's still the argument then, I guess.
Yeah, because I don't know if it'd be. Well, either way, if there's a federal law, then at least there's law in the books. That's the thing. There's no federal law. So if there's no federal law, then if the states have laws, then you go by the states' laws. That's kind of how this whole thing's set up. And then, you go to the Supreme Court, of course, if there's a conflict in there about what should be where. All right. So far, not horrible. This literally is the look that Biden had when they kept doing the split screen as the night went on. I don't think anybody prepared his campaign for it's a split screen. They should be aware of it. But close your mouth, Joe. Stop doing the old man mouth agape stare. You just sit there. Just like.
All we needed was drool to come out.
My God. I think he's too dried up to even have drool. And this has got to be him juiced too. Because no way you send him up there cold. Yeah. Even if people are, he's juicing. There was articles being written about how it's not uncommon for CEOs and people like that with like big speeches to take different stuff, like not Adderall. I mean, I think they mentioned Adderall too, but caffeine and ginseng, B12, NAD, stuff like that. They're like, oh, you can take a lot of supplements in a healthy way that kind of get you up and ready. And it's like, okay, so let's just normalize doping here. All right.
Whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in. They talk about that, but here's the deal: there's a lot of young women who are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses,
in-laws,
brothers and sisters. It's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
Oh shoot! Yeah, get this out of here. Yeah, so he went from that. It's crazy how that just went. That screen looked wild. So yeah, he goes from. So my belief is what happened was, part of the preparing was on immigration stuff. It's Donald Trump. His big thing has been immigration since the golden escalator. And of course, it hasn't really slowed down over the last 4 years. So I think he prepped for that. So he's going to prep for, we got illegal immigrants that are murdering or raping people. So I think in that preparation, he was going to be like, hey, Americans rape too, and we do a lot of raping. So it's not just the illegals doing the raping and the killing. We do plenty of it. So it's not them. It's a problem for everybody, As Donald Trump said in his first run, somebody's doing the raping. Do you remember that?
Yes.
They're like, did you call the Mexicans rapists? He's like, not all of them. He's like, somebody's doing the raping. It's like, well, that's a good... I mean, somebody is doing the raping.
Logic, guys.
Yeah, there's got to be rapists somewhere in that group. But yeah, so I think because of that, he was prepared for that. And maybe since Trump was talking about being supportive of exemptions, exemptions, okay, rape, incest, whatever. So I think he got lost along the way and he went into this other thing. So it was just like, there's no way that abortion should be regulated at the state level. It'd be like having civil rights regulated at the state level. And women are getting raped by their in-laws and their spouses and their brothers and sisters. It's like, what? Women are getting raped by their sisters all across this country?
It makes it sound like there's a lot of rape going on. Like,
what? When reached for comment, Ashley Biden said, no comment. It's hard not to think of her journal when he's like, they're getting raped by their own family all the time. And it's like, and so they pick a different time to take their showers? Is that how some of them might try to combat it? Just asking. Just, I don't know. But yeah, so that was my favorite because I don't know about you. I was just sitting there like, all right. What in the hell? Like, how did we get to this? Like, how have we not heard about all of these rapes by people's brothers and sisters and in-laws and spouses?
he said he went to the funeral. Like,
I think maybe Trump went to a funeral of a girl that was killed by a Venezuelan.
oh, okay,
I think maybe.
okay.
That's, it's hard to say.
I'm glad I'm glad he went to that. It was very respectful of him to go to her funeral.
Yeah, and it's, political points. It's it's a murder by an illegal immigrant. He's going to stop illegal immigrants and all that kind of stuff. But it was such a jump over there that it was like, it's like, okay, first of all, we're talking about federal laws regarding abortion, and a woman got murdered? It's like, and he went to is Donald Trump that went to the funeral for a girl that got murdered? It's like, okay, well, he'll tie this together, and
Just waiting.
yeah, and all across this country, when we get it, it's like, like, holy cow! I mean, that was my favorite. Yeah, I found Bill Maher had a pretty good monologue on this. Actually, hold on, wait. Let me find the spot. We don't need to. He has a lot of jokes about Biden not being not being alive. Yeah, we'll start it around. Somewhere around here will be good.
Joe.
Yeah, not yet, see? Okay.
Yeah, see?
Yeah. That's neat, see? No, we'll get it in. All right, Bill. Make with the funny.
Come on, man. Joe. You know Joe, he famously loves trains, but apparently not of thought.
But don't change. Train of thought. All right.
I mean,
That's part good.
it's just all night, confused and halting and trailing off. I've seen beauty pageant contestants answer questions better.
That's true.
I mean,
And it's like
I don't.
of America and the world.
I don't want to say he shit the bed. His new Secret Service name is Amber Heard.
That's all I want. Secret Service name is now Amber Heard, which is a pretty good line. So, some consensus there that probably didn't go well. Here. I don't know. There we go. The corporate media, outside of the building at Fox, the corporate media is pretty much they're all Democrats, like whether registered or not. I'd say corporate media votes Democrat. I'd say 90% of the staff, including all their personalities. CNN, of course, they're trying to wiggle back towards the middle now after being financially disastrous. MSNBC is going to hold true on the lefty thing, and CNN's going to try and be like, reliable news, we'll see. But if anybody has been carrying the water for Joe in his old age for quite a while, it's been the corporate media. How many times you hear about how behind closed doors he's just a steel trap? I'm like, ugh, wouldn't want to negotiate with this guy, once he's awake and, before he goes to bed at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm going to just jump around this thing. It's going to be a little weird, a little scattered, but I just want to hear a few different thoughts from, and I might just do this.
President and former president.
Okay. We'll jump around, we'll pause, we'll see, but I'm going to start with, I don't know, when this part was actually kind of painful to watch too. Let's start here and watch Joe try to get off of the stage. We'll start with this.
The president and former president
Jill's out there. Say, come on, honey. You did so good.
Biden, the first lady.
Here, let's walk over here. Oh, no, we're going to stand still.
Stage.
Hey, let's go ahead.
The 2024
we're going to stand
the
more?
earliest presidential debate ever now in the
Okay,
books
now
and
let's-
in front of the voters. Tonight,
Oh.
along with Aaron Burnett, the first
There
vote
we
on what
go.
those voters might
Now
make
watch
of
out
it
for these
from our
stairs.
political professionals from our CNN Flash poll and swing state focus group. We'll be talking to sources including Vice President Harris, fact checks from our Daniel
There it
Dale, and
goes.
new reporting from inside both campaigns. We have political commentator Scott Jennings, Kate Bedingfield, David Van Jones, Alyssa Parr Griffin, and
look
Newsnight
at that
anchor Abby
stretch.
Phillips, and David Axelrod. CNN Chief National Correspondent John King. John, let me start with you.
Yeah, John King.
Anderson, this was a game-changing debate in the sense that right now, as we speak, there is a deep, a wide, and a very aggressive panic in the Democratic Party. It started minutes into the debate, and it continues right now. It involves party strategists. It involves elected officials.
There's one guy. Hey, he talks for a while. Let's see what the next person thinks. Hey, what do you think, lady?
I have heard. In the
Ow, ads.
Sid's been thinking about getting dentures for a while.
I'm going to get dentures for
Well,
a
picture
while.
this. Has been
Bad.
in this campaign so far, and a lot of it has
So
to do with,
Abby
first of all, there was a
Phillip
deep
is an
frustration
anchor?
about Trump's lies. I mean, he lied a lot tonight. But the problem for Biden was that Trump was able to take sometimes incredible falsehoods
caption
and
looks
turn
like
them
Joe
into
Biden
some
talking.
kind of argument, whereas Biden's answers were, in a lot of cases, not coherent, deeply problematic,
Deeply
that he was not
problematic.
able to take pretty straightforward answers and answer them to the American public. And then also at some points bringing things up that teed up Trump attacks. So there's a real concern here tonight that there's been some real damage done that cannot be undone.
All right, so she doesn't think it went well. How about this guy?
To this poll, we said at the beginning that each person had a fundamental goal.
Do they have these people sitting outside in the rain? Where's he all that water on his shoulder?
Well, there's like, I think like an AC unit. He's the only one that has water on him.
For president, that was job
they are.
number
They're
one.
outside.
I actually think he scored a bunch.
I always
of
thought it
points.
was
I
like
think
a
if you
gutter that
judge
he
this
just got
on
placed
sort of
under.
policy stuff.
Like he says, if it was just
he
on
did
policy,
score
he scored a bunch of good
on
points.
issues like abortion, for example.
Oh, he scored points on abortion. I saw.
I
Get
think
out
there
of
was
here.
a sense of shock.
I saw. I don't know, CNN or MSNBC. I guess it was CNN. They put together a super clip thing where they're like, watch the whole debate in 3 minutes. Guess which part of the abortion answer got cut out? Because I was like, ooh, let's see what happens. It's like, oh, Roe versus Wade, you did a terrible thing. And I had that little chunk, but then nothing about it in the raping.
Convenient.
Yeah. And it's hard. I know I'm supposed to not use that word on these videos because of the algorithms, but it's kind of hard. President started it. So, okay, this is just funny. So that one guy was like, hey, policy, he did pretty good. This dude, I believe, is a Republican strategist or something. Let's see.
In America thinks that was even close to being an okay debate by
Former
Joe
Trump
Biden.
campaign advisor.
I'm living in a parallel universe. That was an unmitigated disaster for President Biden from the second he walked out to the closing statement. The biggest issue for Democrats is abortion. And he couldn't give an answer.
Placed under the dripping
He gave an
faucet
answer
again.
he couldn't even give a coherent answer on the biggest issue for Democrats
Yeah,
tonight.
let's see. Let's get old Van Jones. I don't know who she is. I don't care.
She kept saying, let's just wait to see how the American public reacts. And it's like, we already know how everyone's going to react.
It could be worse. He did drop in some polls, but he was already down on a lot of them. But I have seen some stuff about too old for the job. That number went up, I saw one who won the debate, and it was like 54% said Trump, 16% said Biden, and then other people said a tie or not sure or whatever,
They both lost.
America lost this one. But the thing is, then they broke it down by party, and it was like, out of the people that said Biden won the debate, it was, I think, 1% of Republicans said it. I think something single digit, like 6 to 9% of independents say that Biden won it, and then all the other people were in the Democrat Party, and it's like, come on, guys, did you watch it or did you just click your team? You probably just clicked your team. But so Van Jones is an interesting guy. He was on the original Obama, the Obama administration. I think he was one of the core people that came in at the very beginning. He kind of notoriously got ousted because Glenn Beck was working on one of the stations. I don't know. But he did a deep dive on Van Jones because Van Jones was a community activist and organizer and communist. And so at that time, communist was still kind of a bad word. People were pretending that they weren't that. And so, that kind of blew up his spot and was just like, look, you got a communist working for you in charge of these things. And so they had to kind of quietly let him go. And he's had to wash his reputation and getting him back here. But the funny thing is, as I think we'd easily say as a far left activist, from starting at that point, he seems to keep getting more and more reasonable. He's definitely still a lefty and all that kind of stuff, but instead of throwing bombs and basically just saying nothing, but just your talking points, whatever it is, he's become more and more he seems to give well-reasoned thoughts, even if you disagree with it. They seem honest, his honest opinion on stuff. which is nice and not always something you can get from the news. So, like in that regard, it's like, huh, I think that guy's actually believing what he says. So, that's your old van, and then we'll get out of this stupid thing.
That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden. He didn't do well at all. He did not do well at all, and he looked.
Another
This
ad.
new alternative to air conditioners can cool down any room in seconds and can save.
I'll give you the analysis. You kind of have the old man versus the con man. I can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to speak from my heart.
Do it, man.
I love that guy. That's a good man. He loves his country.
Just grow up.
He's doing the best that he can. But he had a test to meet tonight to restore confidence of the country and of the base, and he failed to do that. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to want to see him consider taking a different course now. We're still far from our convention, and there is time for this party to figure out a different way forward if he will allow us to do that. But that was not what we needed from Joe Biden, and it's personally painful for a lot of people. It's not just panic, it's pain for what we saw tonight.
Yeah. So, pretty much this whole panel, other than the one guy talking about policy, they're just like, that was a disaster. First guy sitting there like, I'm on a couple different text threads with people in the DNC who are just like, this dude needs to step down like now. They're, other people, oh, disaster. And so like everybody's like, yeah, that sucked. That sucked. He should step down. And so, so the next day, or they've already leaked out the story. Oh, he had a cold. He had a little cold. What's so funny, Charlie?
He had a cold.
He had a cold. That's why he wasn't on his A game. He had a cold. But by the next day, I think it took everybody overnight, just like, get a little drunk, try to just forget the world, wake up and go, what do we do now? And so, Barack Obama came out with a tweet. I'm sure he put it on other stuff too, where he's like, like, everybody's got bad debates. I know I have, but Joe's a good man. He's the man for the job. Trump's a liar. And, one bad night does not mean you're incompetent, And so you start seeing that pop up more and more. People like, oh, one bad night with a cold. And then the other thing, it just went away. I had it pulled up. The other thing was,
if he had keeled over, would it just be one bad night?
Just one bad night. He had a little cold. Sometimes you have a cold and you end up pooping in your pants in front of everybody. It happens.
I want whatever cough medicine he's on then.
Yeah. I think you've taken that cough medicine before, sir, and I think I've witnessed it. Let me see. Where the hell is this thing? Okay. So Mark Cuban starts, he goes, his performance was awful, but so was Trump's. Biden was feeble. Trump couldn't directly answer a single question and lied with every response. I'm going to be totally honest. I was so focused on Biden that I didn't necessarily process everything that Trump said. I mean, he's Trump. His stuff is always meandering. Like, I don't think he's ever given a straight answer about anything ever. I don't think he's possible having a straight line kind of thing. I think it has to just go. But at this point, like, everybody's gotten used to like the way Trump speaks. He says lots of words.
Yeah, I mean, what I noticed with Trump is he would not answer the question immediately so that he could say what he really wanted to say. Right. And then when they would be like, you have a minute and a half left, could you actually answer the question? And then he would kind of go into it.
And I think, but some of that was, Biden would say something at the end, and so instead of having like a minute to respond, he would use the first chunk to respond, which is very normal debate type stuff. Like if you didn't get to say what you wanted to say and they turn your mic back on, it's like, well, let me say some things first to get my points in. I have no doubt that Trump said incorrect things and, bent the truth here and there. Not as much as saying he had a 8 or 6 handicap or whatever. That it's funny that was a thing that really was the most outrageous for Trump, because like when he said that, it was Trump's like, what? It's like that. No, this aggression shall not stand.
Did you see the video of him on the course? Like, I think it was like a couple days later.
Oh, Trump or Biden?
Yeah, Trump.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he like drove a ball. He's like, bet Biden can't do that. He's talking directly to the media.
That's that's the George W. Bush clip about hunting down Al Qaeda wherever they are, hunting down terror. Now watch me make this drive.
It's like, who, based on the shot, like the camera shot, we don't know if it was a good shot, but everyone's just like, yeah, great shot, Trump.
You know, I'm willing to bet if they play today that Trump would beat Biden. I don't think Biden can carry very many clubs, let alone swing them with any oomph, you know?
Oh, that's right. He threw the argument out. I bet you couldn't carry your own bag.
Did he?
Yeah, I
Trump
forgot.
said that, or
no,
Biden
said that. Yeah, I think Biden was like, "You can't carry." Oh, I said I'd do it if you could carry a bag or something like that.
Lord have mercy. Like, don't get me wrong. Maybe Trump can't carry his own bag. I don't see any of these people carrying a bag though. Have you seen the guy? I mean, the bags now are like tripod wheels. I've seen people just push them. I've wondered if they were like remote control by how like I see some of these guys just push it way ahead and then they just kind of walk and catch up to their bag. They roll pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah, but I can't. To be honest, I don't even know how heavy a golf bag is. I've never lifted a bag of clubs in my life.
I have no interest in walking 18 holes of a golf course.
I can get down with that. Like I think we only did. We just did 9 holes the one time I went golfing.
That's enough.
It was enough. It took a long time, and we were playing best ball because we're all bad.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because Rachel and I had literally never played a game of golf in our life, and then like my sister had, and brother-in-law also had, and I would say no one shined during that game, but best ball was the only way to really get through it. So we took shots wherever we took shots, found the ball wherever it went. But anyway, what I didn't do that whole time was pick up a bag of clubs. So I don't know how heavy it is. I'm willing to bet that Joe Biden cannot pick it up. Trump, I don't know. I literally have no idea how heavy it is. Is it 20 pounds? Is it 50 pounds? I don't know. All right, so Mark Cuban here. So the question is, what features voters believe make a better POTUS? Feeble, capable, and ethical versus vigorous, unethical, and incapable of telling the truth. I'll vote ethical every time. The reality is Joe wasn't capable of debating someone who only lies. Okay, whatever. So that kind of became the spin after people got to sleep it off was, listen, yeah, Biden had a bad debate. But Trump lied every time he opened his mouth. It was a lie, and I'll take the guy who has bad debates and looks kind of old versus the guy who's a vigorous liar. And it's like, all right. I'm also not willing to accept the premise that Joe Biden is an ethical man.
Right.
Yeah. Apparently, he has refinanced, or he has taken mortgages out on his house, something crazy, like 17 times in the last, 10 years or something. He takes out tons of...
Because it's a quick cash? Well, not really that quick, but...
Well, I mean, it is a way... Let's see. Biden mortgage.
And if Trump had told the truth the whole night, would Biden have done better?
That's the weird thing. Yeah, they're saying, well, he just can't keep up with someone who lies. And it's like... Well, and that's the thing. He said over and over again, that's a lie. That was the only thing he could reply with. That's a lie. It's like, so, I mean, he...
kind of kept up, right?
I guess, and it's like, it's, he had nothing to do with what Trump said. Like, that was the best thing about this setup is it kept Trump from shooting himself, or the best thing for Trump is it kept him from shooting himself in the foot. And so he could just sit there while Biden did what Biden did, which was just embarrass himself and be old. Oh, I'm trying to find this story. Oh, did you see the...
How many more of these are there again?
one, maybe two.
Oh God.
And I think part of it will depend on whether Biden stays in or not. Because that's, we were talking about it last week, that by having the debate this early, they've got plenty of time to swap them out, and we can see that people have been talking about it. Well, I can't find it. Anyway, but like Biden, it might have been 27 mortgages or something. But he basically takes a bunch of equity out. No, and then he pays it back. Takes a bunch of equity out, pays it back. And it's like, what? It's hard to think of what that would be for if it's not laundering money.
Yeah, how quickly is he paying it back?
Well, I mean, if you think about, I forget this house he has been in, and I don't think 20 years, but say it was 20 years. Say he's gotten 20 mortgages in 20 years. I mean, he'd be paying it off pretty quick, But on his taxes or his financials he has to disclose, some of the questionable things were he'd get a check from his brother for whatever 5-6 figures, and it would say loan repayment, but nowhere did Joe note an outgoing loan. There's no book of loans he's put out into the universe, and yet he had relatives that pay him back in big chunks of money. So maybe he's taking the equity out of his house, giving it to his brother, and then his brother pays him back real quick. Maybe. I don't know. But it's hard to figure out.
Many times over and over?
Yeah, annually. It's one of those things where it's okay. It's just hard to figure out. It's one thing when the rates drop, It's hey, it was this, now it's this. Cool. Got it, that makes sense. But as they're going up and you're still pulling out equity, and he's got one house he does it with, one of his mansions, and then his beach house or whatever, that one he's kept pretty clean, which is interesting. I don't know what that means either, but it's just you can tell me he's kind. I don't even think I can say he's kind. He's always been a jerk, he's always been known for being an ass and ethical. They talk about, Trump with women. Obviously, he's not been a ethical or moral man. But when Joe met Jill, she was married, not separated. She was married, and he swooped in and started dating her and stole her from her husband. And that was a long time ago. So it's these crazy kids made it work. But it's just all right, well, you scooped up some dude's wife. That's not ethical. So anyway, they start circling the wagons, right? So now it's not about Joe. Now it's not that Joe has to be replaced. It's nah, he's going to stick it out. It'll be good. We're sticking with Joe's our man. He did a speech in North Carolina the next day where he's I'm going to end with this. I was I'm not as young as I once was. Not as good at debating as I once was. But, I defend the truth and I speak the truth. And, could have been Jill Biden. Remember how Jill congratulated him afterwards? You answered all of the questions. And what did Trump do? Lie. But you answered all of the questions.
So awkward.
It's just do we clap? I mean, they have to answer the questions. Even they can go, oh, he didn't answer them directly or whatever. I think that's probably the point she was trying to make, but it's just not great optics. Honey, you answered all the questions like a big boy. Yeah. So anyway, so people have been saying, no, Joe's good to go. Joe is in it. He's good to go. One bad performance. Don't worry about it. So Tucker Carlson, this is from today at 3 a.m., 3:46 a.m. Tucker was burning the midnight Earl. So there's a tweet on the X from an unusually good source. Obama's tweet supporting Joe Biden was disingenuous. In private, Obama is telling people Biden can't win, and he is therefore in favor of an open convention. Obama will not say whom he supports, nor, as of yesterday afternoon, had he met personally with Biden to deliver the message. Relations between the Obamas and the Bidens have never been warm. At times, Obama had that good quote, about Joe Biden and foreign policy. Never underestimate Joe's ability to fuck something up, you know? Let's see. At times, they've been hostile. But recently, they've deteriorated further, mostly due to Jill Biden. I'm telling you, something's up with Jill. In the hours and days after the debate, she kept her husband cloistered away from anyone who might convince him to drop out. Jill Biden is the driving force behind her husband's re-election campaign, just as she was in 2020 when other members of the family, including Biden's sister Val, considered him too impaired to run. The next generation of potential Democratic candidates understands all this as an opportunity, and they're circling, particularly Gretchen Whitmer, who is promoting herself aggressively. Gretchen Whitmer, of course, from Michigan, who had the quote-unquote plot to kidnap her during COVID when they found out, like, everybody plotting to kidnap her was a Fed, and they talked like two dumb rednecks into going along with them. I was like, cool. It took 11 federal agents to trick two rednecks into being like, I guess we can go along. They go, look at this smoking gun evidence. And them being like, oh, well, I guess. It's like, cool. They're like, I didn't think they were serious. Anyway, so that's Tucker Carlson today. Old Bill O'Reilly had a similar thing where he said one of his good sources tells him it's over. It's not going to be Joe Biden. There's something, Jill's cooking something up because she has been very aggressive. You know, she did the fundraising video after the debate, and she's been out there more over the last year or even less than that than like the entire presidency before that. And as far, you know, I didn't see her that much, but she seems to be a fixture now. She seems to be talking more. She seems to be, you know, walking him more. But she does seem to be, like Tucker says, the driving force here. And yet, to me, you go, all right, like, what do you gain from 4 more years as a first lady? Like, yeah, you're 4 more years as a first lady. You know, you get to rub elbows, but you'll have that forever. You'll always be first lady, former first lady Jill Biden. You know, I know you live in the White House. That's cool. You got the chef. That's cool. But, like, you know, y'all spent a lot of times, allegedly, taking in all these illicit funds. Like, you can have a chef. I mean, the Obamas took the chef with them till he drowned. But, you know.
In like 6 inches of water.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. It's the day before Obama had just introduced him to Hillary Clinton. You know, yeah, there's Hillary. Oh, nice to meet you. But like, yeah, you can take your chef with you. Take one of the chefs. It's fine. They'll work for you. So you go, all right, what is it that she gains? You know, and like, yeah, the Bidens. I'm sure there's been some funds coming around, especially. Probably U.S. dollars to Ukraine into a Biden account somewhere. But, you know, she's not a spring chicken. You know, I'm not trying to shame her on her age, but, like, she's in the years where you start thinking about retirement and stuff, right? You know? And so how many, like, tens of millions do you need to retire comfortably and, like, leave on to the generations and stuff? You know, and Hunter has, you know, he's made a lot of money, too. I mean, a lot of it's gone up his nose and into his lungs, but, you know, there's all sorts of stuff I'm sure that's still hiding around. Yeah, and he's a brilliant artist, of course, so he's got all these paintings he can sell. But, like, even if you're wanting to, like, have, like, a dope-ass trust fund for the grandbabies, you know, and then, like, keep your 2 houses, keep living that sort of lifestyle, like, he's going to have a pension from his time as a senator. And he's going to have another, I think he gets a separate pension for being a president. So you get, you know, you'll be fine. Like, they're not going to starve. They'll get to be affluent forever. You know, there'll always be speeches that you can get paid $100,000 to do. I mean, not Joe, but Jill can talk somewhere for maybe $80,000 or something. And then, you know, books. Apparently she wrote a children's book or something. And I guess it was pretty horrific, but no one noticed because no one wrote it. So that's what I see Jill and I go, what is she doing? Like, why? Like, why? What do you think Jill can gain the most from this? A second term or just being involved here?
So my thoughts aren't necessarily what she gains.
Okay.
It's what someone else would gain if she pushes Joe to the limit and he goes.
So if he croaks like an office, so who gains then? Other than
I don't know. I mean, I think somebody might be in her pocket. Another person might be in her pocket.
Maybe
steering this. I don't know.
I think she wants to make her run an Oprah type thing, Dr. Jill. Like have a daytime show, just Dr. Jill.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, sure.
And I think like she's trying to get herself out there more, and be seen more as a TV personality right now, so that people relate to her and understand her. Where it's
She's a teacher, though. I mean, people kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's like
the highest paid teacher.
Proud, yeah. I mean, like Laura Bush, W's wife, like she didn't really do anything after being a first lady. She just kind of went and did whatever she did. Michelle Obama did write a very popular book, and it sounds like there might be a little bit of rivalry stuff in there. So maybe she wants to be able to out Obama or out earn Michelle, that's a tall order. But like Michelle Obama, when they left the White House, she could get paid for a book and for a talk and to be on television and all that. And I think Jill wants to do one better than that. I think she wants to be, Dr. Jill, whatever, daytime television hostess or something. There's something like that. She's trying to cook something up.
Doesn't Michelle have a hospital? I think she owns a hospital.
She owns a hospital?
Or runs a hospital. I don't know.
Michelle Obama?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
Or was given. Well, I don't given a hospital.
Yeah.
I don't know. Big Mike.
Big Mike. That is still one of my favorite. And I just want so badly to hear Trump say Big Mike. I just want him to say it out loud in a serious scenario. Let's see, Michelle Obama Hospital. Big Mike. I don't even think you can carry clubs. Who could? Big Mike. Michelle Obama, Chicago, 10 kilo. It looks like she resigned her position at University of Chicago Medical Center. Oh, no, this was 2009. That's when.
Way in the past.
Yeah, but I guess she worked in hospitals. So I don't know. She's probably on boards all over the place. But yeah, so I feel like this has something to do more with Jill than it does with Joe. Which, Tucker's kind of saying that same thing, where Jill's kind of the problem. And she probably is. I heard something where, like, there's days, like regular occurrence throughout the week, where multiple days a week, Biden does not step into the Oval Office. Like he's upstairs in the residency and people just don't see him. He basically is available from about 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Great hours.
Yeah, no, if you can get them. But yeah, he's like basically never available. And so he kind of shows up for little things and goes away. And they just kind of keep him, just keep him watching Matlock and stuff, hidden away.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Weekend at Bernie's. I love this movie. Look at that spry young gentleman. But yeah, so I don't know. I think something's in it for Jill, and I don't know if she will allow. Thing is, Joe has to step down. He has to say, I really do want to spend time with my grandkids. 4 years from now, I will be, 84 or something like that. I forget how old he is. He's old. But he's like, I'll be this age, you don't get those years back. And I think that really what we need to see is the next generation of Democratic leadership step up and take out this monster. And I support whoever the nominee is 100%. I thought I had it in me, but I'm just feeling a little tired. I want to spend my energies on my family. And so he has to be able to do that. Otherwise, somebody's kicking him out, And so... and Kamala Harris doesn't have a shot at this, like she's literally not being considered by anybody of any substance, so if not, your only options are to straight up just battle him, be like, we don't support you, Joe, and do the open convention anyway, and just see what happens, where if he comes out of the convention with it locked up, well, whoever did that's probably going to get punished, you know? And then the other way to do it is get them locked up, you know? Like some of the money laundering stuff, 10% to the big guy, all this sort of thing. Maybe you just stop squashing that. Maybe you bring it up. Maybe you threaten. Like, listen, you got to step down. Oh, we got all this. But I don't know if Jill is just like he's running and hides him away. I don't know. I don't know if they'll be able to bump him out of the way. Gretchen Whitmer, I feel like would be a disaster, but I didn't realize she had that good positives for her polling. I know she's like, you know, substantially younger than these two and like, you know, fairly attractive woman and all that kind of stuff and been the governor. So, you know, experience in governing. People can talk about how successful she was with Michigan, but, you know, that's what debates are for. And, you know, she would be good at getting the Trump's weakest chunk of the voting public, which is like suburban women. She'd probably get those easier. I think Andrew Cuomo is still a dark horse candidate. Like we talked about last week, he popped up out of nowhere for no reason, was being critical of some of these silly anti-Trump cases. And so it's like, I don't know. And then old California boy, I think he's too slimy. I think he embarrassed himself when he debated DeSantis, and I think he just looks sleazy. You know, like he's a good-looking guy or something, but I don't know. He looks like American Psycho.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it's like it's like, hey, it's like when I see you, I see American Psycho. Yeah. All right, let's see. So anyway, we're gonna have to see what happens. In the last like couple days, it went from they gotta get rid of him to he'll be all right. It was a bad performance. It was one bad day. Everyone has a bad day. It's one bad day. To like Tucker Carlson and Bill O'Reilly, who you know have been in the news world forever, who do actually have sources inside of campaigns and offices and all that. Like they actually have sources, and they're both saying their sources are saying that Joe is out. So we'll just kind of see how things shake out.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of pounced after the debate was over.
Yeah, I mean, if you were in the DNC, because that was the thing O'Reilly said was, it's two factors. One, of course, no one thinks he can win. And two, fundraising was drying up. He's not bringing in the cash anymore because people are like, I'm not going to throw good money after bad on this. You know, it's just, see what you can do, Joe. It'll be fine. Just see what you can do. Like, you got my vote, but we'll keep the money here, especially the way this economy is going, right? Joe, I mean, not that. The Bidenomics is working. Bidenomics. All right. So how far are we into this?
57.
Okay. We'll rattle through. Well, here, let's do these two important things of who your commander-in-chief is, right? So a couple of things have happened recently. So June 30th, so yesterday, this is Stars and Stripes. Oh, wait, no, I don't want this one yet. Sorry, go to the other one. Here we go. So this was June 27th. So just a couple days before that. So we had U.S. Navy nuclear ballistic missile submarine surfaces off Norway in unusual flex as doomsday plane flies overhead.
Flex?
It's an unusual. It's written by Business Insider, so they keep it bloggy and young. So a U.S. Navy nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine surfaced in the Norwegian Sea. It was accompanied by a guided missile cruiser and 2 naval aircraft. The show of force came weeks after Russia sent a submarine and naval fleet to Cuba. So, let's see. The U.S. Naval Forces, Europe, Africa, U.S. Sixth Fleet announced the movement of the USS Tennessee in the Norwegian Sea on Tuesday, writing that the sub was joined by the USS Normandy, as well, right after the anniversary of Normandy, as well as the P-8A Poseidon Maritime Patrol reconnaissance aircraft and whatever the hell. Here's for you, Charlie. The flex, notably, comes amid persistent tensions with Russia. Rattling the nuclear sabers. Where is it? Let's see. So the USS Tennessee is an Ohio-class ballistic missile sub able to carry as many as 20 Trident nuclear missiles. And it's accompanying the E-6B Mercury provides survivable, reliable, and endurable airborne nuclear command control and communications. So you have a whole... Yeah, like the Air Force E-4B Night Watch, the Navy plane is sometimes called the Doomsday Plane, as it can relay National Command Authority directives to U.S. submarines as part of the take charge and move out mission and fulfill looking glass obligations. So basically, you had everything you need for a nuclear strike, pretty much, right there. And it's unusual, obviously. One of the things... I like that they used boomers.
20 nukes just in case.
Just in case. It can hold 20 nukes. And so, as the boomers, or ballistic missile subs, are an element of the U.S. nuclear triad, the U.S. Navy doesn't regularly reveal where they are.
I would hope not.
And so that's kind of the interesting thing. It's like, all right, so Russia was like, we're right here now. We're by Florida. And so we're like, hey, look, we're right by you. And we brought the whole game, which is not ideal to show, but you kind of understand what's going on where it's like, hey.
Everyone's unzipping their pants.
Everyone's unzipping their pants, yeah. All right, so now we've got nuclear subs from Russia hanging out with Cuba. We got our own hanging out near Norway. And let me get to this other one that I meant to go to before. Give me my thing. Bloop. So on top of that, this is what I touched on earlier today. U.S. military bases in Europe were put on heightened state of alert over the weekend as installations urged vigilance among their members. At the U.S. European Command headquarters in Stuttgart, the Army garrisons on Sunday issued a countywide alert that the force protection threat level was elevated to Condition Charlie.
Thank you.
Yes, we're always on Condition Charlie here until further notice. So yeah, all over Romania, Bulgaria, Ramstein Air Base. Italy also went to Charlie. So Charlie threat level applies when an incident occurs or intelligence is received indicating some form of terrorist action or targeting against personnel or facilities is likely, according to the Army website. And then service members and others should anticipate significant delays, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so basically we have lots of possibilities for World War III, just kind of out in the world. We've got, we've brought doomsday to Europe. All of our European bases, I say a threat there's an imminent threat. No big announcement, of course. And our commander in chief is Joe Biden. Yeah, like the guy that talks about the brothers and sisters raping all them women. That is the guy that has the nuclear codes. But, in reality, we know Joe Biden's not running the show. His chief of staff probably does quite a bit. And his national security guy, Jake Sullivan, probably gets to do a whole lot. But the thing is, we didn't vote for those people. I mean, you get that you have advisors and you have a cabinet and all that when you're president, but you're supposed to pick the guy that you want in charge. And so it's unnerving that he is so very much not in charge of anything. Okay, so that was just a little touch. I'm going to rattle through some SCOTUS decisions real quick. I guess to start with the big one from today. I'll go back here. So the court found today that a former president has absolute immunity. This is still in blog format because I haven't even had a chance to write an article on it. The court holds that a former president has absolute immunity for his core constitutional powers. Former presidents are also entitled to at least a presumption of immunity for their official acts. there's no immunity the court holds for unofficial acts. Core constitutional powers are things like appointing ambassadors and foreign governments. The court explains that it does not need to decide in this case whether immunity for official acts is presumptive or absolute. So basically what they did is, this is Trump saying, I have immunity for like the this one I think was about saying find me the votes or whatever. And so he's like, I have immunity. And so they looked at everything. They go, all right, if it's an official act, you should be presumed to have immunity until it's shown that maybe it's not official or that something criminal occurred, something unusually criminal. If it's just straight shooting somebody in the face, that's not an official act. That's not part of your presidential powers. That's not a constitutional thing that you're supposed to be doing. So, you don't have a presumption of immunity to these things. But let's see. They gave some specifics. So certain allegations, such as those involving Trump's discussions with the acting attorney general, are readily categorized in light of this nature of the president's official relationship to the office held by that individual. Other allegations, such as those involving Trump's interactions with the vice president, state officials, and certain private parties, and his comments to the general public, present more difficult questions. So, they kind of punt on making decisions on all of this. They're not, they kind of kick the case back down to the lower courts, and they just said, but look, there's some of these things, like having a conversation with this person, that's probably, he's probably immune on that. So you got to figure out something. You got to show that he acted outside his constitutional powers when he did whatever he did, So that's an interesting one for Trump. It helps him a little bit. It means that case is going to go on for a while. But he didn't. He got. It's I guess a win for him. People are freaking out and making it overblown, saying like, "Oh, now he's immune. He's a criminal. It's going to get away with everything." And like the courts were they basically just said, like, yeah, presidential immunity is a thing. It serves a purpose. If part of your job as the president is to, to do whatever, and like you do a bad job at it, well, you're not going to go to jail for doing a bad job at it or for making the wrong decision. You're the head executive. At some point you got to make a call, left or right on this thing. And so if you go left, you should have gone right, and there's disasters, you can't be sued or arrested because you made a bad decision. That's kind of the goal here. So that was one. And then a bunch of January 6 people were being charged with, let's see. So the justices ruled that the law that Joseph Fisher was charged with violating, which bars obstruction of an official proceeding, applies only to evidence tampering, such as destruction of records or documents in official proceedings. Friday's ruling would affect charges against more than 300 other January 6 defendants. The same law is also at the center of 2 of the 4 charges brought by special counsel Jack Smith against former President Trump in D.C. They heard the arguments. Okay, that's about the immunity thing that they hadn't heard yet. So basically, they're coming up with these stupid charges to give all the January 6 people. And for like 300 of the people, they charge them with this like obstructing official proceedings, because they went into the building, And so basically the Supreme Court ruled like that's not really what that law is. It's very specific. That law is about paperwork, basically. And so, theoretically, some of Trump's stuff does have to do with paperwork, as far as like keeping files or something, I don't know. But as far as the January 6 guys go, a lot of them are going to get charges dropped substantially, which is good. Like, 2 things can be true simultaneously. Like, the people that broke into the Capitol, they committed a criminal act of trespassing, maybe vandalism, rioting, depending on which person you talk to. Once you get to a certain time, or the security just opened the door and was waving everybody in, and those people were like taking pictures. Those people are just taking pictures. They were waved in. They didn't do anything. You can say they did something wrong. Okay. But like when come on, everybody, come on.
They joined a tour.
Yeah, they gave themselves a little tour. A lot of them stayed in the ropes too. Like, there's people that stole the lectern, which was awesome. And like, some people acted worse than others, like some in dumbass ways, some in malicious ways. But not all of them had equal crimes, and they should not all be treated as if they did. Not all of them rioted. I saw, I thought it was great. One thing they were calling Trump a liar about was when he was like, Nancy Pelosi said it was her responsibility. She said it. And have you seen that clip?
Yeah.
Or like she's sitting there talking to her daughter, being like, it's my responsibility. And, they offered me the National Guard and I said no. And it's like, yeah, that is what happened. Like, you turned down the National Guard. Like, y'all didn't even fully staff. They didn't even fully staff. Like, they didn't call people in who had a day off for this thing. They're like, normal staffing is fine. It's like for January 6th, all these people are coming to a rally, and we won't even beef up staffing a little. So, like, I don't know, it was all, I believe that they got exactly what they wanted. They wanted people to freak out and riot. And they got that, and that way they can hold it over Trump and, lots of people for a long time. But yeah, I think when you look at some of the videos of them shooting the tear gas and the rubber bullets in the crowd too, it's like, it just looks like they're, poking a wasp nest and just going, go ahead. What you going to do about this one, All right, just one more. Let's see which one. I can lump these two in real. The big one, I feel like the big one, because a big one that I'd say went the wrong way is the Supreme Court basically said the government didn't do anything wrong when they were forcing Twitter to like censor materials and all that. They're like, well, it's more of a freedom of speech thing than it was actual violation of the First Amendment. I kind of disagree with them on that, but we'll see. So the big one here, a major ruling, Supreme Court on Friday cut back sharply on the power of federal agencies to interpret the laws they administer and ruled that courts should rely on their own interpretation of ambiguous laws. The decision will likely have far-reaching effects. By a vote of 6-3, justices overruled their landmark 1984 decision, 1984 of course, Chevron versus Natural Resources Defense Council, which gave rise to the doctrine known as the Chevron Doctrine. Under that doctrine, if Congress has not directly addressed the question at the center of the dispute, a court was required to uphold the agency's interpretation of the statute as long as it was reasonable. Within a 35-page ruling by Chief Justice John Roberts, the justices rejected that doctrine, calling it fundamentally misguided. Of course, it was just the far-left justices, Elena Kagan, Sotomayor, and Ketanji Brown Jackson. They all disagreed. They're treating it this thing that's only existed for 40 years is somehow the most important thing in the world. But let's see. Basically, what it did, this decision made it so that Congress authorizes EPA to regulate environmental things, right? And so EPA can just then go, like, hey man, we got a rule. You can't do that anymore. Like whatever you got. Like, hey Charlie, it's that's a protected waterway in your front yard. And you go, that's a puddle. You go, that's protected water. That's a wetland. It's a wetland, and this is how this needs to be cared for. And you go, well, you're kind of tearing down my house. So you go, yeah, get out of here. You're hurting my wetland. And that was just that. You go, what? And Congress goes, EPA. They care. They care. And it's like, well, what do I do? They go, well, you can sue the EPA, I guess. It's like, sue the, okay. Like, can I do anything internally? Like, yeah, you can ask the manager. The manager's going to say, nah, I'm going to keep doing what I want to do, And so that was Chevron deference. So they always just defer to whatever the regulatory agency said. ATF, EPA, all these. And so this one said, no. This one said, listen, it has to be reasonable. I make a comparison to like condo docs. So like in our condo docs, it says the condo board is allowed to make rules, right? But I can't just make a rule that says, whatever. You can't. No businesses can be open on Wednesday. Now, if we have in the condo docs, you have to come up with agreement with the association if you're going to keep things in a common area. I can say, all right, the agreement can read this way. We'll ask you for whatever, $20 for a chair or something like that. It's a tweak, it's a detail on a rule, So in this, it'd be like Congress would say, the EPA, we're going to pass a law that waterways in the Pacific Northwest need to be protected against invasions of geese or whatever. So then the EPA can go, all right, well, this is how we'll protect against invasions of geese. But they just can't come in out of the blue and go, we're shutting this down for the geese. It needs the law first. And if there's any question as to that law, how to interpret it, well, you go to the courts, which is what you normally do with laws. A lot of people were being dishonest about this decision, saying, so the judicial system just gave itself more authority. And so it's like, oh, good, yeah, judicial systems. And my favorite was, it's like, so these agencies that are full of experts, they're going to, instead of using the expert opinion of the agencies, it's going to go to the judicial system. It's like, I love that your bureaucrats, your expert bureaucrats are who we need to trust. And it's like, no, this says the legislative branch needs to create laws, and if there's questions about the laws, bring it to the judicial system. The executive branch agency can't just do whatever the hell it wants anymore. And then we don't even have to switch over those. But the other big thing that kind of went along with that was this guy was getting fined by the SEC. They were charging him with fraud, right? And so he said, he's like, they're accusing me of a crime, and I don't get to have a jury trial. They're just saying, here are your fines, and if you want to fight it, you need to have an administrative review internal. So he goes, so what? I just talk to SEC people to see if the SEC agrees with the SEC's decision, and that was always like, yeah, that's kind of how it works. And so the court basically found that if an agency is fining you, basically convicting you of what is a crime, you do have a right to a jury trial. Now, you can still do penalties and fines and stuff like that within reason, I guess. But yeah, if you're basically accusing someone of a crime and just fining the hell out of them, they do get to go in front of a judge in a court and have a jury trial, which I think is good. So between like taking away some of the internal review court things that all these agencies have been able to do, and then also having carte blanche to just like create whatever rules they want, with those two things being struck down, it does make me happy that maybe we'll sometimes see a slowdown on the growth of government. Maybe the regulatory agency kind of state will go away. There's other stuff, but we don't have to go into that. Those are my favorites, but I had to get Chevron deference in there. Well, Charlie, you got anything for next week?
Nope.
So defeated. Like us, follow us. Episodes like this one where we say rape a whole lot definitely will not. That won't help our rankings.
Rape.
Right. Exactly. So if you follow us and stuff, it makes it easier for you to hear us and watch us. From now, I guess we'll just wait to see if old Joe is still the guy next time we meet. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm rooting for him. Stand in there, Joe. I want to see a couple more debates. All right. Well, until next time, I don't know. Bye. Yeah.